It's really just doing those things where you have to just get out and meet a lot of people because there's no other way. You can't just phone it in. You've got to build. I'm convinced people want to do business with who they like and trust and they get to know. So I think building relationships is so important. You just don't want to be a name on a postcard.
Hello, this is
Hi,
Cynthia
Cynthia.
Tant with, where am I with? Sip Sell Repeat in real estate here in Pensacola, Florida. And I have the great honor of speaking with Cara Ameer. Am I correct on
Yep,
that?
that's right.
All right. Get the name correct here. And she's got a very interesting background in real estate. So tell you a little bit about her, what I know of, that she's bi-coastal from Northeast Florida all the way up to Southern California. So that has to be a story and is in Coldwell Banker and has done some writing and also covering housing trends and market strategy and what is it? Author Real Estate Confidential. So we're going to pick her brain a little bit and see how she does all that. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I don't know you, you know you. Tell us a little about yourself and your real estate career. Get us started.
So I transitioned to real estate in late 2001. I came from a legislative and legal background, and I got my Florida license. And I got interested in real estate when we were moving to Northeast Florida, the Jacksonville area, when my husband had a job opportunity there with the PGA Tour. And the area was growing vastly during that time. And so I've spanned a 23, 24 plus year career. I have my broker's license in Florida. And in 2020, I expanded to Orange County, California.
How did that happen? That's not close.
No, that's not close. You can't get there from here and there from there
Not
very quickly.
easy.
No,
Yeah,
not
I know.
easy. Here it was the pandemic and so many people that were making pandemic related moves. My husband had another job opportunity that was taking him out west, and we do have family out on the West Coast. And in anticipation of that, I decided to go ahead and get my license a little bit before 2020 because you had to do it online. It's 6 classes. It's very intense. It's not like the Florida real estate
Florida.
license. And
Yeah.
so what I did is I decided at that point I needed to put a team in place. So I formed a small team of 2 agents that work with me, and they're really my boots on the ground when I'm not there. And I'm very involved. I've built up that clientele, so I didn't want to leave it. And obviously, then I was starting over in a new market. So I wanted that diversity, obviously, of markets and income streams, and I just didn't want to shut something off I worked so hard to build.
Oh, and I've just been here in Pensacola area investing in everything since early 90s. So I've just stayed in this one market. But that's such a maybe how it's so diverse. It has to be. You're dealing with a totally different population, a totally how did that happen? How did you adapt? Let's just say that. I know real estate's
So,
real estate, relationships and everything
right.
else. That's a yeah.
It's like another country, right? Two very completely different markets.
Mhm.
Obviously, our industry has gone through so many changes universally over the last couple of years with buyer representation. But,
Mhm.
California is its own animal. The level of contracts and documentation is very technical, it's very precise. There are hundreds of forms involved. And so there is a lot to learn. It is not just starting all over, like if you were just getting your license, getting into the industry. It is completely starting all over. You have to learn a new market, you have to learn a new terrain. You have things like earth movement, soil tests, because
I know
obviously,
different
yeah, we have
earthquakes
earthquakes, fires are
versus
more of a
hurricanes.
concern. Yeah, versus
Yeah.
hurricanes. There's some parallels as far as weather risks that are similarities, but it's the average sales price is a lot higher. You have tax
Higher
implications. And so you're really in a
taxes.
place where people are looking to maybe leave versus migrate to, like Florida. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of tax implications. A lot of people don't want to sell their properties because of huge capital gains issues. A lot of
Right.
people are doing 1031 exchanges. And another interesting issue that we experience more in Southern California are reverse mortgages, where you're not
Mortgages.
apt to see those as much, at least in my market of Florida, because they really, in Southern California, people's homes are really it's like their bank account. It's their
Yeah.
lottery ticket. They bought it 20, 30, 40 years ago, and now it's worth multi-millions of dollars. And there's a lot of responsibility and complicated issues that come with that. Some of these are going to adult children in the family, and how is that navigated? So, yeah, there's a lot of specific issues to the Southern California market that were not so much in my Northeast Florida market.
and then not over here in the other part of Florida in the forgotten Panhandle of the Redneck Riviera. It's a very different world. When you, I know you said you had, was your husband then with the PGA also, so got to go over to
he
California, or was it something different? Yeah.
he had a new opportunity in California, but in sports television. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
what brought us out to SoCal. And obviously, there's a lot of sports and there's a lot of TV related production things that go along with that.
That's cool. I'm a big sports person because of my past. But yeah, when you said that, oh man, I've gone to the LPGA, the Solheim Cup. I've traveled around. I've done a lot of stuff with that. But so let me ask you a question. When you went and did that, so when you went from Chicago, you're down to Jacksonville. So you're starting over in Jacksonville, more or less. You're getting started in Jacksonville. You're building your referral base. You're getting your clients. Then you're going all the way over to California. What did you learn maybe here in Florida that you applied in California or to get your team of two and that they're still over there and where are you now? You're in California right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're in California.
Yes.
How often do you go back and forth? And do you have a team in Florida also over in Jacksonville?
My team's in Florida. I am
Okay.
solo in Southern California. And
Okay.
I obviously building the business 20 plus years in Florida. There's a lot I applied to building it in Southern California. I'm really more of a sphere based person. So for
Okay.
me, getting involved in things, building those relationships, making those connections is more how I'm doing it in Southern California because that's exactly what I did when I moved to Florida. I didn't know anybody, I didn't have any connections. And it was really just good old fashioned getting involved in things, different organizations like my sorority alumni group, Pan Hellenic group, connecting with people that went to my university, for example. I tend to be a very social person. And so I
Mhm.
brought a lot of those same approaches here to Southern California, where I'm involved in similar things. I'm involved in my homeowners association board. I didn't have time for that in Florida. I've gotten involved in tennis here, which is something I really wanted to spend more time on in Florida, but just never really seemed to have the time. And it's a little easier to play because it's not necessarily 100 degrees all the
Okay.
time or the
And it's the
rainstorms coming
humidity.
through.
It's
Yes,
the humidity.
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really just doing those things where you have to just get out and meet a lot of people because there's no other way. You can't just phone it in. You've got to build. I'm convinced people want to do business with who they like and trust and they get to know. So I think building relationships is so important. You just don't want to be a name on a postcard.
And I think being with Sip Sell Repeat in real estate and us as ladies maybe having our coffee or having our glass of wine and we exchange ideas, we do business a little bit differently, I believe. And so we are out there networking. We are meeting the people. And what university did you go to when you moved to Florida? Where'd you go to
I
school?
went to school in the Midwest, Purdue University in Indiana.
Okay, so Purdue. Okay, so Purdue's. I was going to say we said certain things down in our area. It was Alabama, of course,
Mm,
whatever. So did they have? So you had a group there in Jacksonville with
yes,
Preferred
there's a big
View.
alumni group there. There's a big
That's
alumni group
great.
in Southern California. And obviously, yeah, we were the little strangers because we're not in the land
Right.
of SEC, right? We're not Florida, we're
Right.
not Florida State, we're not UGA.
ACC,
Yeah, no,
SEC.
although we were totally surrounded by all that for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it was nice to
Yeah.
find that connection.
That's great. And then obviously the golf community. Were you also a golfer, or just your husband was just involved in it, or how did that go? Because
Uh,
golf is the biggest world, boy. Let me tell
Oh
you.
yeah. No, my husband he loves golf. He doesn't play professionally, but he, was on the business and TV side of it, obviously when we were based in Florida full time. I admittedly have only picked up a club very few times, maybe on the driving range.
Really?
I don't have the patience for it at this stage. I think real estate has made me too ADD. That's why I really enjoy tennis because it's a faster paced game and it's not going to be 4 or 5 hours. At least for me, it might be 4 or 5 hours at this point in my life, but we'll see where that goes later on.
And it's interesting because when I talk to gals that have been involved in sports, it seems like they really do very well in real estates or have been in that athletic kind of competition because they're maybe more outgoing, like you said, going and meeting up with people. So if you were to tell a new realtor coming on board, what would be something that you would like to let this new gal know about how you succeeded because today the world is changing with all this AI and everything else, how you got through that in your very beginning and then a couple of points that, yeah, I know you said you networked and everything over in California, but you had to start with somebody. I know you didn't knock on doors. Come on.
Well, that was the
Now.
pandemic too, where California had very
Oh,
strict rules in
that's
place.
right. Strict. Yeah, that's true.
No open houses. You had to wipe
Yeah.
down doors and all kinds of
Yeah.
wear gloves. It was just crazy. But for anyone new starting out, I think you need to lean into what your strengths are. You don't want to be doing something that you're not good at, because then you're not gonna enjoy that. So whatever that is, I think everybody has passions and hobbies and things that they're interested in. So you want to lean into those where you can find your tribe of like-minded people, and through your passion of shared activities, if that's working out, if that's hiking, playing tennis, whatever that is, volunteering, you're going to find those connections with people that are then going to get to know you and like you and trust you. I do also think you need to be a student of everything in this business. We never stop learning. It's a completely different industry from when I got into it, and it has continued to evolve, and it's going to continue to change. So you've got to really be a sponge and go to all the classes you can, take all the webinars that you can, whatever your board offers, if your company offers, go to industry conferences, network, learn a lot, because that's how you become more confident in being an agent, being an advisor, and being able to serve your clients at the highest level.
I totally agree. I know that I have a little, I won't say it's little, it's about 400 in my flip flop nation, which is my referral base. And I think 900% of my business is through that. And they're just calling me. I've got a couple people that just, I was out of town for a little bit. Now I'm trying to catch up. But I think, do you have an experience, and it can be of anyone, with a client that you got in there and you started, okay, they want this, they tell you this, but then you end up with this? Or it's like, where are we going? I've got something going on with that right now. Give me some kind of example of something like that happened
All
to
the
you.
time. No, I've had that. I think, you know what it is? It's hard for people to articulate sometimes what they want, what they say they want. And then when you go
Hmm.
out and you find that, or you deliver that for them, the needle keeps moving, right? So there's really something else typically going on with them. So
Hmm.
I think of my job as a detective or a forensic psychologist or something like that, if you will, because you really need to get to the heart of what is going on with this person that's causing an indecision. Is there a
Hmm.
personal issue? Why are they hesitating? Why are they afraid to commit? Because here you're giving them everything they said they wanted on a silver platter. But I've worked through many of those, and it really depends, I think, on the person. Are there other decision makers involved? Are other people in the background? The peanut gallery? Are their parents involved that are giving them money? What is it? That's usually when I've run into those situations. It's not so much about the real estate search, because any number of properties could fit them right this minute. It's really more about some dynamics going on that they're not really telling you about.
I've always been a believer. A long time ago, very long time ago, someone said to me, said, facts tell, but stories sell. And the more stories, everyone tells me, you have so many stories. I said, because I've been doing it for a long time. And I think that as we become, I still have very first client I ever sold to. We are still friends. Ben walks into, that's when we used to do the floor stand, and they would come in. And
Yes.
yeah, I was like my first week in the business as a realtor. And he comes in, he said, with his checkbook, I'm going to buy a house today. I went, okay, this is pretty nice. That the first time, how would that ever happen to a rookie agent, right? And I said, okay, so let's go look at some houses. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was intelligent enough to know some of this. Didn't have very much training, but anyways, and a couple of houses. First house we looked at, and I don't know if this ever happened to you. Oh my God, it had a pink kitchen. It had this gigantic fireplace. It was just, I said, this is an interesting house, isn't it? And Diane goes, I want it. And I went, really? Under my breath, I went, really? She goes, absolutely. That was the easiest thing I've ever done, the very first deal. Now they're not like that, as we know. But it was just like it shut me off. And then of course their kids and their kid, we're
Sure.
still 10 houses between them of all the kids and everybody. But as far as, have you ever had a transaction which was just, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I said, what am I supposed to do?"
Many.
Denise, I know I've got one right in my head right now.
I think you haven't lived in our industry if you haven't had a few
No.
of those, right? So I can
Yeah.
tell you, yes, I got into the business back in the day when floor was a thing. It was a very highly
Yeah.
coveted
Yeah.
opportunity. It wasn't just given to anybody in my office and the company I was with at the time. You had to really earn your keep, so to speak. You still had to be
Hmm.
out there. They didn't want you to just rely on that. And I had, in the beginning, I had two of my first sales came from floor, and my one of the hardest transactions I've ever had in the business was one of those, where this was the house that had everything wrong with it and then some. And it was listed by another agent in my office who was very seasoned. And so this is
Oh,
where I
wow.
cut my teeth, right? Because,
Yeah.
used to think that all this came together so easily and nobody had these problems. These people came, literally walked in, they were interested in this home. They were VA. I'm a newer agent. I don't really have a lot of
Don't know
experience with VA. And they wanted this house come hell or high water. It did not matter. It needed a new roof. It had
Oh, God.
termites. It had low water pressure because of the well. And then the kicker was we had some foundation issues with the garage because we were on silty soil. Did I know anything about this? I'm like, what do
And
you
I
do
was going to
about
say,
this?
and VA was going to approve this?
And the owner was out of state. He lived in
No.
Alabama. I think he was a younger guy. This had been a long
Yeah.
time rental property. So I think he had what you call, what I term now, disconnect disease, because he's not there. And all these
Right.
problems, and this is in the era of fax machines. And it was,
Yeah.
you know what? They wanted the house. We went through every obstacle you can imagine, but that seller ended up fixing the wall of the garage that was starting to sink a little bit. I think they had to get like ramjack or something like that to jack it
Yep.
up.
Yep.
I believe he
Mhm.
replaced the roof. I think they had to address the termites. So to this day, 20 plus years later, that one lives with me. And then in California, I went through one last year where the clients put in five offers, and we went through four escrows. That's our, instead of saying title, escrows. We
Yeah.
were under
Yeah.
contract in plain English four times. And this consumed the first 4 months of my life. I have
I was going
never
to say,
been,
wow.
yeah, I have never been through anything so intense, where we just would get into escrow. We'd go through all this due diligence in California, investigations and inspections. It's intense. You will
Yeah.
have 4 to 5 different inspections on a property, depending, just a standard home,
Yeah.
termite, sewer scope, foundation, structural. If it has a pool, you'll bring that in. You want to have a roof. You can go on. It's a sport here. But we went through that iteration 4 times, and this was several hours each time. And I think
Yeah.
this client probably spent over $8,000 in inspections.
Jeez. Oh my God. I get around here and they go, we have to pay how much for an inspection? I go, oh my gosh, 600 now, $650 now. What are they in California now?
It's, and again, you get what you pay for. You don't want to be dealing with out here Joe
Yeah.
Blow inspector. You want to be working
Right.
with a reputable company that has a deep bench of inspectors, has availability 6 days a week, is adequately insured. Interestingly enough, inspectors are not licensed in California, unlike Florida, where they are, which I'm really shocked. But an initial home inspection could be $800 to $1,000. If it's a much bigger home,
Right.
like
Bigger house.
5,000
Yeah.
square feet, sure.
Yeah.
But then you've
Yeah.
got to add on roof and a sewer scope. You wouldn't dare buy a home out here without having the sewer line checked. You add a termite, all these things, mold, air quality, it all adds up. Foundation inspection, they'll charge $500 to come out and see if your foundation is level.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We have in Florida, we'll have our main inspection now because of insurance. We have to have the WD or the wind mitigation and the 4 point. We have a lot of older homes. I think over in Jacksonville, you probably do too, as far as
Yes.
a lot older homes. And so obviously with I'm sitting in a 200-year-old home right now, a historical home that we just jack. It's my office. We just jack the whole thing up because of termites and everything. Is, oh my God, are you kidding me? But have you ever had an experience? And I like to really get to more personal versus, okay, this is how I do my business. Personal client that threw you for a loop. No matter what you did, you just could not figure out where they were coming from. What I know, you sound like you're a great listener and you're educating your client, but just someone that came along and go, okay, again, what do I do with this person? I'll tell you my story once if you have anybody, I tell you something more about somebody.
I've had shades of that. I did
Yeah.
have a client years ago where I think I showed them literally everything in their price range within certain radius of miles and areas. And this just kept going on and
And
on and
yeah.
on and on. And they didn't buy at that time, they relocated out of state. But then I felt like something was going on. And 2 years later, they resurfaced. And I found out that this couple had gotten divorced, but they were moving back to the same area, interestingly enough. And I sold both of this couple condos in the same condo complex so they could be close to each
Yes.
other for their little
Really?
boy. But wait,
Oh, okay. Okay.
then it gets
Yeah.
better because then flash
Okay.
forward now a couple years go by and now they wanted to be more in a home. So they moved to the same neighborhood of single family homes and they live right across the street from each other on the cul-de-sac.
Oh
And
my
they've moved
God.
on with other people in their life and they're
Right.
copacetic and was very happy, but that was an interesting one.
Yeah. And so how old was the little boy when you first met him? As
Oh
far as
gosh, a toddler and now
yeah,
he's
Tom.
in high school.
Yeah. They grew up too fast, I guess
Yeah,
is what
they
they
do.
say. Yeah. Yeah. I had a situation where I had two gay guys. And so 4 weekends in a row, and they were referrals. So I said, okay, this is going to be good. And oh my God, every Saturday and Sunday, we're going to houses and they're going to pay cash and that they're not even going to buy. I go, wait, and they're taking pictures of everything that they're not even going to buy, but it's just the personality. And they're like, oh, yeah. So the fourth weekend, literally, I am on the very last house before they went back up to Tennessee. I said, if you guys don't buy this house today, I am done with you. And they said, okay. I said, is that all I had to do for the past 3 weekends? So then they take this house and it was a decent house, but they tore it all apart and put a pool in and just went to town on it and overbuilt for the area. But that's what they wanted to do. And it was a second home to start with until they moved down. But it was just like, what? Literally, I know you're not going to buy this house. Why are you taking pictures of every room? Oh, so that we can just look and see what we like. But yeah, that was one of those deals where and I'm still friends with them too. It's just, oh my God, you guys. But when you're a more seasoned agent that you've seen now with the new technology that's coming out, have you had a chance much to work with the AI or anything like that yet? Or are you just getting your chat GPT? I know people use and stuff. Now I guess what's Claude is the next one, and then there's something else. But are you putting that into your best practices yet?
Oh,
Or
totally.
okay,
Totally.
how are you?
We did an AI academy. We had it was actually like a full day event with Jason Pantana, who has the AI Academy, Coldwell Banker. We had him out
Okay,
here in Southern California. And that just completely opened my eyes.
blow
In
your
the
mind.
beginning,
Yeah,
I was last year, if you asked me about AI, I'm like,
yeah,
oh, I don't know about that. I don't want it to start thinking for me. And I didn't understand how you could leverage it. But now I am using it for so many aspects of my business. I love the deep dive. I like being able to do the research. I love having it to be able to frame things for you. But if you're in a negotiation or a repair negotiation, just has a great way of framing things. I've used it to give me ballpark ideas of things or how much things cost from inspection reports. And it's actually been pretty accurate. So, yeah,
pretty
I am
close.
all in on this AI thing. I think it's great for creating content. There's just so much you can do, and you can help advise your clients too. You can
I haven't
run
gotten
down
that much yet.
information so much faster than you could ever.
Yeah,
Perfect example. I'm in the middle of an escrow now in California, and the client said, How high do you think those ceilings are? And I said, let's take a picture of the listing and let's put it in AI. It told us exactly. And I figured that was right based on the age. Now, in our old way, okay, let's go back over to the house and let's
right.
measure.
Measure. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. I'm dealing with right now where it's a short sale. It was approved for a certain price and then the buyer backed out. And so we got another buyer right away and they started all over again. And now they won't approve the price that they just had. So I'm going through the process. Okay, they've stopped paying their mortgage, so you're losing 1,200 bucks a month now. And I started doing the numbers. I put it into Claude. I said, okay, now do me this. And then I took the comps and put it in there. And I said, man, I just learned a little bit of this. And I said, this is awesome. So I just sent that off to the seller is beyond, she doesn't know what to do because the price that they have for it is the price that it would sell for. It's not going to get what the bank wants. So we're going to be shipping that off to them. But I was just amazed that I was on a talk yesterday, and the young man, he just created a whole website in front of us in 15 minutes. He told it exactly what to do, what to put in for real estate and everything. And I went,
It's amazing.
it's just, it's
It's
amazing.
amazing. Things that we used to spend hours trying to figure out, we don't
Hours.
have to do that anymore.
Do you, just a few more questions, just because this has been really a lot of fun. Have you ever been involved in any investing in real estate?
Personally, myself,
Yeah,
I have not. And, how
really?
many times have I looked at things and had the shoulda, coulda, woulda syndrome? I
Yeah,
have helped
yeah.
so many
Many
people
people.
do that themselves, but I have not really embarked on that journey. I take that back. Actually, before we relocated full time to California, we did have a condo that we bought. And the thought was, you know what, this could be a place we could land, or we could keep it as a second home or potentially rent it out. But of course,
Right.
after we renovated it, we liked it so much we didn't want to rent it out. And my husband's probably a little more risk adverse. And look, I
Okay.
understand. I've heard a lot of the tenant horror stories, and I've also come behind, you know,
Oh yeah,
people
I've
that
seen
now
them
have
all.
to sell these properties after the tenant has moved out, and I've cleaned up the mess, so to speak, to get it ready for
Right.
sale. But
That's true.
I think it's getting harder to invest in real
It
estate
is now.
depending on certain locations because of the sheer costs involved. You may
Yeah.
need to move away from the coasts and into the Midwest where it's less expensive.
Yeah. You said you're from Chicago, right? So
Natively born on the East Coast, but lived in Chicago. But yeah, if you're going towards Iowa or
yeah,
Southern Illinois,
yeah.
yeah, you can still find houses for $200,000 and
$1,000
no
less. Yeah.
HOA fees or something like that.
Yeah. We have some here too. We've got some under 150. I've got one right now at 150. Very few and far between though. It'll go pretty fast. We just put it on the market. It'll be gone tomorrow. But so yeah, I think I told you, and I don't know if I here, but I got started in real estate as an investor. I just started it and didn't know what I was doing. Fortunately, I had a very good agent who was a real estate investor. And I tell people now, because this was back in 1994, and I got two duplexes and a triplex for a total of $62,000.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
And so I still have one of the duplexes. It's like this about this distance from the water at one of the bayous. So it's an Airbnb right now. And it well paid for itself over the years and everything. Let me tell you that. But is there anything else you'd like to share? Oh, I know what I forgot to ask you. How can we contact you? How can the ladies get in touch with you? They'd like
Oh,
to refer and chat with you and find out more
sure.
about you.
You can find me across all social media platforms. Just put in my name on Facebook, Cara Ameer, Instagram, Cara Ameer. I also have a page, Live Orange County with Cara Ameer. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on X. I'm on Threads. Whatever your platform of choice is, you can find me.
Cool. And before when we get off of here, I have a little swag coffee cup for you, Sip
Oh,
Cellar Peak, that I want to
how
mail to you.
nice.
So I got to make sure that I get your address. But
How cool.
just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on and
Well,
sharing,
thank you,
especially this
Cynthia.
I say bipolar, not bicoastal.
Sometimes I feel bipolar. Trust me. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you again. If you're inspired by these powerful women in real estate, you'll want to catch the next conversation. Click the video on screen to keep sipping, selling, and leveling up your game.